Hey, Shalawam, Shalawam. First and foremost, giving all praises, glory, and honor be to the Heavenly Father and His Son, Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rakakadash. And that means He is in the name of Yahawashi, which means He saves, in the name of the Rakakadash. So Yahawah is the Father's true name. Once again, that means He is. And then Bahasham, Ba meaning in, Ha meaning Dash, Ha meaning name. Then Yahawashi, that means He saves, He delivers. And then Bahasham, once again, in the name. Rakah means spirit. Kadash means holy. All right, that's in the Paleo Hebrew. The Lashawan Kadash, Lashawan equals language or tongue. Okay, Kadash, once again, holy. So the holy language, the holy tongue. Right, so that's the names of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, which we baptize in. Second, giving double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of the great millstone. And shalom to the Lord's hopeful elect. Let's get right up into this one, man. What is a false flag, okay, or false flag? I've been saying FF a lot because I didn't want to, but hey, this one I'm going to just say false flag. It is what it is, you know. So, let's read it. A false flag is a covert operation such as a T attack or military action staged by a government, cooperation, or group to make it appear as though another party is responsible. These tactics are used to justify retaliation, manipulation, public opinion, or create a pretext for war. Okay? Now, these things in these ways is once again wiles of the devil. Okay, let's go get that. Because that's all it is. It's tactics and ways and things that stage that Satan uses, right? The YT man uses to, mislead and propaganda and, throw people around for a loop. So this is Ephesians 6 and 10. Finally, my brethren, be strong in Yahawashi and in the power of his might, right? And be strong in Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of Yahawah, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil, wiles, strategies, tactics, all these little plays, these little ploys, these little things that the devil is using, okay? For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places, okay? That's why a lot of this stuff is rituals, blood rituals, sacrifices, things of that nature that's coming forth that the devil is doing to just manipulating and like he's trying to give a sacrifice. But Yahawah is not honoring none of that, 1 second. All right, so Laki, I'm back. Okay, so these tactics, these strategies that the devil is using, okay, now you could type in, right, was 9/11 a false flag? And they'll say this right here. Okay, official investigations included that 911 Commission report concluded that the September 11 attacks were carried out by, while some theories suggest U.S. government involvement or advanced knowledge, a false flag. These claims have been rejected by government, of course, because the investigation is on you, and you're leading out the investigation. So you're investigating yourself. So of course you're gonna reject it. Right? And mainstream experts who maintain that evidence supports the official account. All right? Now, if you dig into it deeper, you'll find out that the pilots and all of that was trained by the CIA. Okay, Osama bin Laden himself was a CIA operative, an asset back in, I believe, the 80s, okay, early 90s or whatever it may be, and you can look that up. You can look that up right now, okay. Right here. While he fought in the U.S.-backed anti-Soviet jihad in Afghanistan, efforts and intelligence officials maintained that USA went to indigenous Afghan Mujahideen, not the Arab volunteers like bin Laden. And these things are what? They're pushed under the rug, okay? So if we go into it, Yeah. Several sources have alleged that CIA had ties with Osama fraction of Afghan Arab fighters when it armed Mujahideen groups to fight the Soviet Union during the Soviet-Afghan War, about the same time as the 1979 Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. And this is, and like we say, of course the government is going to push it and shove it under the rug, right? And they're going to deem it a conspiracy theory, right? But like I said, certain sources, several sources, these sources are either hushed, they're shut up, they're muted, they're pushed away, they're made to go away. Right? Now let's read a little bit more of this. About the same time as the 1979 Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, the United States began collaborating with Pakistan's Inter-Services Intelligence to provide several $100 million a year in aid to the Afghan Mujahideen insurgents fighting the Afghan pro-Soviet government and the Soviet army in Operation Cyclone. We see this in shows like Snowfall and what's that movie, White Boy Rick. I look at Narcos with Pablo Escobar. You have it many times where these drug pushers are working with the CIA. They're doing deals and things of that nature, Or look at Lord of War, where you have Nicolas Cage's character. He's going forth and he's selling guns to the opposition and the ones, they're fighting. He's selling it to both sides. This is the same thing that the Rothschilds do along with the banking, right? Now, I looked into the Lord of War dude, and it was loosely based off of somebody, but he actually had CIA ties. But it was allowing him to fly on these planes and take him this way and take him that way and move these amount of guns over here and over there. Okay, you're not going to be able to do these type of things under the nose of the government unless the government is sponsoring it, man. Right? So going back to the fact of whatever Osama was doing, they knew what he was doing, and he had ties to them back in the day. Okay? And we could get up off of this. Okay, just going back to the original fact of that they knocking it as a conspiracy theory. Okay? Look, they done wrote books on it. Alternate claims some authors such as Theory Misan and 9/11 The Big Lie have alleged that the attacks were a false flag operation aimed at starting wars in the Middle East. What happened? Did they ever find weapons of mass destruction? Okay, were any weapons of mass destruction found? No large-scale active stockpiles of weapons of mass destruction. They were not found in Iraq following the 2003 invasion. While U.S. troops found degraded pre-1991 chemicals, this is old, man. Right? They concluded in 2004 that Iraq had ended its active WMD programs before the war. So you didn't find nothing, but you still invaded that country and did what you did for oil and for a number of other reasons, trafficking and taking over that region. But Trump came out of his mouth and said that Iran wants to take over the Middle East. Well, you already run the Middle East. All right? America already runs the Middle East. Let's go back to the map. Let's go to the map. You have ties with Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, okay, Iraq, and you have a base in Syria. You have bases in all these lands going straight down here. You can make a line. Base UAE, base Qatar, base Bahrain, base Kuwait, base Iraq, base Syria, right? And that's connecting you to Turkey, which are your allies, right? Furthermore, you got what? Israel right here. Them your boys. Tel Aviv right there. You know? Now, who ain't really messing with you? Iran. Okay? And then these Hamitic nations down here. Sudan, Ethiopia, Egypt. Right? Lebanon. Right? And we know Turkey is eventually going to join because they're Gomer. They're going to join. That's Ezekiel 38 chapter. So they're going to join and be allied with Russia. Okay? You know? There's also, I believe it was a base found in Georgia. Israel drone base. I'll type that up real quick. Matter of fact, I want to keep that one up. I'll choose this one. Israel. Alright, man. Slovakia. Israel drone. Let me move that up, man. Slovakia. Israel drone base found in Georgia. I found this on, it was on Instagram. I have to find that article again. Oh, this is right. Oh, Redacted brought it out. Right here.
So why does Israel have a secret drone base right near the border with Russia? According to recent reports, the recent drone bombing of Azerbaijan by Israel was launched from this secret drone base in the country of Georgia, which sits very close to the Russian border. How is this allowed to happen? Here is one of the reports. Diplomats are now trying to suppress news of Israel hiding.
Okay, and that's all I got to play because I don't, you get a strike messing with them guys. But you go in here to AI overview, and so AI be fucking up. Based on search results, there are no credible reports of a new or secret Israel drone base found in the country of Georgia or the U.S. state of Georgia in 2025-2026. But Redacted, these insiders, all right, they know, okay? They getting this information fed to them. Diplomats try to suppress news of Israel hiding drone base inside Georgia, UNESCO World Heritage Site. All right. So, these devils, man, you can't trust the internet. All right. You got to dig. You got to be diligent. You really got to go into it. Matter of fact, where's that video? Right here. Okay. I'm going to play a little bit of this. Once again, fair use, fair use. All right, because this right here, this was April 24, 2025, last year. But, hey, I'm going to just play it and let the video speak for itself.
September 11, 2001, that killed nearly 3,000 people when the Twin Towers collapsed after hijacked planes crashed into them, could be reviewed again by Congress. Republican Senator Ron Johnson, who heads up the investigations subcommittee, claims that the government is covering up the destruction of a building near the towers that house several CIA offices.
Who ordered the removal and then destruction of all that evidence? Totally contrary to any other firefighting investigation procedures.
The Wisconsin Republican lawmaker claims a separate explosion besides the ones which took place inside the Twin Towers happened inside a building just a few yards away, known as Building 7. A government investigation concluded that Building 7 collapsed from a prolonged fire that could not be put out because of water supply issues.
Well, start with Building 7. Again, I don't know that you can find structural engineers other than the ones that have the corrupt investigation inside NIST that would say that that thing didn't come down in any other way than a controlled demolition.
However, not everyone is buying.
Other than the ones that have the corrupt investigation inside NIST that would say that that thing didn't come down in any other way than a controlled demolition.
What'd he say? A controlled demolition. All right. So it's set up, man. Right? Let's go back. Let's get a precept. Okay. This is Psalms 55:21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. This man literally sets up an attack on U.S. soil just to start a war. Okay? Using the emotions, empathy, sympathy of people to, expedite his plans of NWO. It's the same thing he's doing with Iran. Trump sits here and calls them a terrorist nation. How, bro? They did shit to you. They ain't messing with you. Y'all messing with them. That's why the rest of the world is looking at y'all like, yeah, y'all need to get y'all ass whooped. Okay, Israel and America, man. Y'all the biggest bullies on this fucking planet, man. You damn Edomites, man. Alright? Damn, man. We tired of this shit, bro. So your play has been peeped. Okay, let's go get some more. Let's get a Ciroc. Ain't nobody trusting this damn devil, man. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. So you gotta understand, this man can't be trusted no matter where he's at, no matter what he's doing. It's something going down. Okay? Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. He's never gonna do away with that wickedness. He's crouching himself. He's coming to humble. He's coming humble. He's yeah, man. I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna be with y'all, man. I'm sorry, man. I love y'all, man. I'm sorry for all the wickedness. I'm sorry for unaliving your ancestors. I'm sorry for feeding your babies to alligators. I'm sorry for feeding you to alligators. I'm sorry for not telling you the true names. I'm sorry for... Man, shut the fuck up. At this point in time, man. Okay? It's over. Set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in our place. Look at him now. He's in our place. Right? This goes back to Saul not doing what he was supposed to do. And this goes back to also them Amalekites letting one get away, and the rest, came back from that. All right, seeing these damn devils. Okay, and it's owes me the will of the Most High, Set him not by thee, lest when he have overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. I don't got no Edomite friends, man. I'm not cool with them. You never really been cool with them. In the military, them niggas was weird as hell. Alright, they be doing all them little gay ass jokes and shit. Like man, especially in boot camp, we had to take showers naked and shit. Them niggas be playing in the shower, hitting each other with towels and shit, man. Get the fuck up out of here, man. Alright, that's how they is. Okay? Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words, and be pricked therewith. You got to remember what your father told you about this damn devil. Okay? He's not to be trusted.
However, not everyone is buying that theory. Among them, New York Congressman Mike Lawler. He posted on X, quote, "Respectfully, Senator Johnson should stop peddling conspiracy theories about the worst terrorist attack in our nation's history, and one that forever altered the lives of so many of my fellow New Yorkers. This dishonors and disrespects the innocent lives lost, our brave first responders, and all family and survivors who still carry the pain of 9/11 each and every day."
Hopefully now.
That's that empathy, sympathy shit. Alright? They playing on your emotions. This is what Esau does, man. And Salakia, if I sound a little weird, man, I'm under the weather. But, that's what these damn devils do, man. And this is how they mess with you with the jabby jab and the C-hip. They're going to come the same way. Alright? Playing with your emotions. Okay? Hey, get it? So you're not getting it? You're trying to kill everybody else. Man, get up out of here.
With this administration, I think President Trump should have some interest being a New Yorker himself. What actually happened in 9/11? What do we know? What is being covered up? My guess is there's an awful lot being covered up in terms of what the American government knows about 9/11.
Right now, it's still not clear what Senator Johnson's timetable would be for holding hearings. His office staff would only say, quote, "It depends on what information, documentation is obtained by our office."
Hey, he gonna get shot down. And I mean, like, in the sense of it's not gonna get entertained. I don't mean like they might take. I mean, they could take him out. Hey, he ain't moving forward. Okay, he ain't moving forward nowhere else. I didn't want to do that. It's lucky. Okay. You can't. But hey, let's go to Psalm 64, cause he's fulfilling prophecy. All right, this is verse 8. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. So they're exposing one another. They're, as it says, it's a debate. Okay, debate reunites over 9/11 collapse of Building 7. You know, and all of them. All right. It was no plane wreckage found at the Pentagon, man. All right. There's always claims that it was blown up. Okay, and even I don't be using AI, but let me see if I can go to AI overview. Okay, Twin Towers. Let's do this real quick. Construction. Right, construction of the original World Trade Center Twin Towers began in 1966 and was completed in the early 1970s, with towers rising over 1,300 feet. Using innovative tube-in-tube structural design and kangaroo cranes. The new Two World Trade Center, a 55-story tower designed by Foster. Yeah, we don't need to know that. I don't care about that. But Twin Towers was designed to withstand earthquakes. The Twin Towers were designed with a tube-in-tube structural system, allowing them to withstand significant lateral forces like earthquakes and high-speed winds. The design used closely spaced perimeter steel columns and a strong core, which provided exceptional stiffness and redundancy rather than relying solely on a traditional rigged frame. So it wasn't built like your average building, bro. You got two planes that go crash into them, and it just falls down. You know, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and play it. Let me see. Let's go back to it. I just type it in. All right, 9 buildings falling. All right. So if you peeping this, all right, it's burning up there. The plane hit it up there. Why would it fall why would it fall? It's just the top would burn. That's it. Okay? That's all that would happen. It's designed to withstand earthquakes, winds. Okay? Even the person, they actually had an insurance claim on it. It's the similar thing that happened with the Titanic, man. Okay? Buildings don't just collapse like that. Let me go to YouTube. Matter of fact. Should they go into the physics and all that. Oh, I want to play this. I want to play this right here. Let's see what...
The 9/11 terror attacks scarred a nation, and even decades later, some things still don't add up. Like, who knew about it? Was there insider trading? And the case of a strange disappearance. Find out the answer to these mysteries and more on this episode of The Infographic Show. Things about 9/11 that don't make sense. September 11th, 2001. The The world was shocked as coordinated terror attacks hit the United States. Members of Osama bin Laden's al-Qaeda terrorist cult hijacked planes, using them as weapons to hit high-profile targets. 2 jets slammed into the World Trade Center in New York City, killing over 2,000 people and reducing the iconic towers to rubble. A 3rd plane hit the Pentagon, killing hundreds, and a 4th headed for the Capitol building was brought down in a Pennsylvania field by the heroic actions of its passengers. It was the deadliest terror attack in history. Everyone knows someone who questions the official story of 9/11. They usually have an elaborate rant about how jet fuel can't melt steel beams. And when you question them on what actually happened, they'll tell you, well, the lizard people just want us to think the towers blew up. Those conspiracies have been explored and debunked many times over. But over 20 years later, there are still some things that just don't make sense about the horrifying day. Number 9. For one thing, the entire circumstances of the attack seem surreal to those who grew up in its aftermath. Unlike most terror attacks since, the attack was extremely low-tech. The terrorists, organized in groups of 4 or 5, boarded planes holding only box cutters. They took the plane hostage, forced the pilot to give up control or killed them, and then piloted the plane into its intended target. It seems like a well-planned, if simple, operation. But there's one thing that still raises some eyebrows. Why did Muhammad Atta travel to Portland, Maine, right before the attack? On September 10, 2001, Muhammad Atta picked up his fellow hijacker, Abdul Azia al-Omari, at a hotel in Boston. From there, they drove in a rented car north to Portland, almost 2 hours away. Surveillance footage captured the pair checking into a Portland hotel that evening. They were also seen making ATM withdrawals, browsing the aisles of a local Walmart, and in the parking lot of a nearby Pizza Hut. Some believe Atta was conducting surveillance detection, making sure no one was tailing him. Others think it was a strategic move. Security at Portland's airport might have been lighter than at Boston's. Another theory was that he was planning for last-minute delays or meeting with an unknown accomplice. Whatever the reason, on the morning...
And I ain't about to play all this, man. I get a copyright, but, let's see. Let's jump forward.
On site went into the towers themselves. Instead, they were helping people who were injured after escaping. And while people did die on the ground due to falling debris and fires, those were the bodies most likely to be recovered intact. Multiple investigations by the NYPD and a private investigation commissioned by Philip's husband turned up nothing, which has led many people to wonder, is everything as it seems? Philip had a troubled past before the events of 9/11, being fired from her job at Cabrini Medical Center due to tardiness and alcoholism. She complained to police that an intern had groped her during a staff night out. The case would later be dropped, and Philip was charged with filing a false police report. It seemed like her life was spiraling before the terror attack. Could she have faked her death or died in another way? And it was completely ignored in the chaos of the terror attack. Her family has been suing to have her officially confirmed as a victim of the 9/11 attacks, allowing her to be honored officially. And in 2008, an appeals court gave them their wish, and she was added to the Ground Zero Memorial. That's the legal outcome, but any hard evidence remains painfully hard to come by. And in the immediate aftermath, confusion reigned. Number 7. Osama bin Laden and his al-Qaeda terror network quickly claimed responsibility for the attacks, and he became the world's public enemy number 1. But he came from a very big family, the son of a billionaire Saudi oil baron who had multiple wives and 50 children, and he was considered the black sheep. Most of his family were jet-setting business people with devoutly Muslim beliefs. They had no affiliation to terror groups and viewed Osama as a disgrace. In 2001, the bin Laden family was spread around the world, including in the United States. It was one of the strangest affairs that took place in the days after the attacks. Flights were grounded for 2 days and strictly regulated after that. And it would be several weeks before one of the most controversial flights to happen in that time was revealed. On September...
But keep this in mind, going back to the title, False Flag, this whole atmosphere is being brought back. Okay, and Iran is the target in a sense, or the scapegoat, the one that they're blaming it all on. And back then it was Osama bin Laden, then it was Saddam Hussein, Iraq, right? They just throwing the blame on whoever it was when they orchestrated this attack, right? I'm gonna let this go some more,
November 13th, 12 members of the bin Laden family who were in the U.S. were put on a plane and evacuated back to Saudi Arabia. When this was revealed, it caused some outrage. Why were the relatives of our enemy being evacuated? And many asked, why were they such a priority? This was conspiracy fodder of the highest degree, with some arguing it showed that the government was in on the attacks or at least collaborating with the bin Laden family. But less conspiratorial individuals said that most of the bin Ladens in the country were high school and college students. And besides, money talks. Reportedly, the evacuations were kick-started when one of bin Laden's brothers sought help from the Saudi embassy. Saudi Arabia had good relations with the Bush administration, thanks to their many oil deals and geopolitical significance. The likely scenario is that they were evacuated for their protection due to fears of reprisals. But it still raised some eyebrows, and the government has been tight-lipped about it ever since. But one figure might be at the center of it all. Number 6. The biggest question regarding 9/11 has always been, who knew? The most common suspect has been George W. Bush. Many people insist that...
And it's facts that they definitely knew. George Bush knew. Okay? I heard it years ago. But Clinton, okay, I believe it was Clinton, told him that, they got surveillance on these individuals and et cetera, and this is possible, right? And he just shoved it off, just waved it off like it's not important, But these things were important, all right? But ultimately going back to a CIA operative, man, CIA operation, all right? That's how the devil gets down, okay? Through many different tactics, he's coming through these wiles, these strategies. He's setting it up, right? It's propaganda. The same way he's gonna try to make us look like we this and we that, right? Black Hebrew Israelites. He put that. Who put black in front of anything, right? That's how we know it's orchestrated by Esau, right? Yeah, we could jump past this. Let's see let me see. I want to get to that building actually collapsing. See if they got anything on that.
At the time, many countries likely have spies in the country at all times, and it only becomes a serious issue when they're trying to access secret or high-risk information. But in the immediate aftermath of 9/11, security stepped up big time and deported a lot of people who may have been slipping under the radar. And so they went back, leaving a trail of decades-long conspiracies behind them. But if there's one question that's been lingering all these years, it's this. Did anyone know? Some of the more outlandish conspiracy theories claim that the attacks were masterminded in the United States, but most simply allege that it was allowed to proceed without being reported. Some claim the government wanted to have an excuse to start a war in the Middle East, while others claim a massive insurance scam on the World Trade Center. But no evidence has...
But that's facts. All right, look, they put it out. That's Psalm 64:8 again. They putting it out right there in front of you, and they telling you what really happened. And they just making it like, oh, but nobody, But that's true. The insurance on it, okay? They wanted to go to the Middle East. They needed to justify that war. All right? Today, Trump is, he as we peeped him with Venezuela, what did he do? He said they're drug trafficking. They got drug boats here and there and boom, boom, boom. So then he invaded them. And that was the justification. He didn't even go to Congress. Same thing with Iran. They're trying to build nuclear weapons. Okay, so what? Right? And he said, hey, well, if they had got nuclear weapons, they would have hit us. You don't know that. Dude, man, in the South, but we walk around with guns. You think just because he walk in with a gun, he gonna shoot you? All right? You little paranoid ass Edomite, man. They need to protect themselves because you's a damn devil. Right? So, yeah, and that's going back to that spirit of the Egyptians in the sense of when we was rising up, they looking at us like they're multiplying so much. They could take us over. They could join with our enemies, et cetera, et cetera. It's just that spirit of paranoia. Right? You're fearful. You're weak. You know what I'm saying? That's how they are. Nobody can get on their level. Nobody can be above them, right? And that's Job 9:24, man. The earth is given into the hands of the wicked. So they're walking around, they want to control everything. And we understand, it's your kingdom. This the last end, this the latter end of it. Go ahead and finish it. Okay. A little bit more of this.
Emerged of advanced knowledge by the top power brokers of the time, but it did emerge in a very unlikely place, a high school classroom. It was September 6, 2001, and English teacher Antoinette De Lorenzo was greeting a new year of students. Her class was heavily composed of Pakistani immigrants, and one of the boys made a disturbing comment to his Bensonhurst classmates. He claimed that the World Trade Center wouldn't be standing next week. She chalked it up to a bad taste teenage joke, but then watched in horror as the prophecy came true. She quickly called the authorities, and the FBI and NYPD tracked the boy down to interrogate him. So, did this boy have advanced knowledge of the world's deadliest terror attack? All these years later, we don't have a clear answer. The boy claimed he was only joking, and his family backed him up. But the coincidence was such that many people were dubious. The police ultimately decided that it was just a case of the world's worst timed joke, and no charges were ever filed.
That's strange, because I didn't know about the World Trade Center until it fell. What was I? I was like 9. You know about that shit. But this is a kid in high school. Like, it's just, maybe it's coincidence or whatever, but the thing is, it was some foresight knowledge. The president knew, many different people knew. You have recollection, man, it was this dude. Man was leading people. It was this dude leading people out of World Trade Center before. Nah, that ain't even it. It was it was somebody that was just leading people out before any plane even hit. All right. But yeah, you got these people that save people and all that. Let's see. Once again, noting somebody as a conspiracy theorist. The cult of William Cooper, the eyeball conspiracists who predicted 9/11. Right? It ain't no how is it a conspiracy when it comes true? Right? Can I even I gotta put my email in. They got the article back there. And I ain't doing all that, man. And I ain't going all that, man. I'm just about to wrap it up, because the point been made. All right, anything that we say, all this stuff that we talking about, the way that the Edomites operate, how they slander. Let's get that, because all they do is slander another man. All right, it's lies behind that. Proverbs 10:18. He that hateth hatred with lying lips, and he that uttereth a slander is a fool. They slander, they put on people stigmatism, okay? Now, especially after 2011, and now they're bringing back the atmosphere. When you look at Ishmaelite or Elamite, that may wear a turban and all of that, you looking like a terrorist. That's why they're going to bring a false flag attack. And it's going to heighten that. And it's going to be a reason for everybody to have a C-hip, because we need to know who's moving in this country. Trump is pushing, it's called the Save America Act. The Save America Act. Right? The Safeguard American Voter Eligibility, or SAVE Act, HR, often referred to as the Save America Act, introduced in early 2026, proposes strict federal requirements for proof of citizenship when registering to vote in federal elections. Key provisions include mandated documentary proof of citizenship, passport, birth certificate, and requiring states to remove non-citizens from voter rolls. Now, this is easily tracked with a CIP, right? Some form of identification, passports, birth certificates, all that'll be on there. Social security card. You'll vote off your CHIP. You just scan it, and you pick who you vote for. You won't be able to vote twice because it's already picked you up. All right, so the convenience of it, it's all there. 1 second, man. Let me blow my nose. Man. Stay safe out there, y'all. Man, it's something going around, most definitely. But they fearmonger. They fearmonger to bring in what they want to bring in, what they want to implement. That's what 9/11 was. It was fearmongering. All right. So, with that being said, giving all praises, honor, and glory be to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, and Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of the great millstone. Shalawam to the Lord's for elect. Kwam Yasharahla, and above since wicked kingdom. Shalawam, Salaki, Shalawam.